What up? What up? What up? Can I give myself a little bit round of applause?
You're exclusive.
I love them all. It's so hard to picture. So it's like trying to pick a child, a favorite child.
I also believe that everybody is special. And that's the thing, discovering what makes you special and different from everybody else.
So,
Whoa, that's $8 to $10 million a month.
it was more than that. It was a lot of money. And, we had a lot of perks. And I had over 300 gas stations that I operated.
Hello, Tom LaVecchia here, and we are continuing our series of Cigar Confessionals. So I'm having a nice, Romeo and Julieta, 1875, with my man Lorenzo Abatello, who runs by the moniker, which I love, the Modern Day Italian. He also is an upcoming jewelry designer. Lorenzo, welcome to New Theory Podcast. How you doing today?
What's going on, Tom? Thank you so much for having me today.
It's our pleasure. So believe it or not, we've actually been very fortunate. A lot of people reach out to us to be our guests, but I've been stalking Lorenzo for a while. I like his jewelry. I like what he's about. But we're going to get right into it. So, Lorenzo, let's talk about your formative years. Where did you grow up, and what makes you you?
Man, so I'm a first-generation Italian. I grew up in Long Island, but my Italian background was a little bit different than the traditional, what you think of a New York Italian. My family came over a little bit later in the years. We're born in the 50s, 60s, 70s. And we come from a little town in the countryside of Naples, not so much the city, in more of the mountains. It's in Benevento. It's a little town called Durazzano and Sant'Agata. So Sant'Agata is actually one of the top 7 best small towns in Italy. Our town in Sant'Agata get funding from the country of Italy to keep and maintain the area. And they came over a little bit later. A few people came over to Westbury and they called all their paisans and they said, let's all come. There's only 15 to 2,000 people and 1,500, 2,000 people that are in the town. So then they ended up more people in Westbury than they were in the town at some point.
All right, so your family comes from Italy. My family came over, I believe, 1959, so very similar to yours. We moved to New Jersey, my parents at the time. So with that being said, so you grew up as an Italian-American. So you're doing a lot of different things now, which we'll talk about. But what first got you into, again, everybody is proud of their culture, everybody's proud of what they're doing, but you seem to be really screaming from the rooftops about the modern Italian culture. So what was that point, or that inflection point where you said, wait a second, I know I don't want to live it, but I want to spread the word of being an Italian-American here in the U.S.?
Well, honestly, it really grew organically in the sense what, if you want to take a step back for a sec, like I really was just started taking videos, because obviously social media and Instagram, you just document, whether it's intentional or not, you just start documenting your life.
Yes.
And on a not even just Sunday, but just really every day of the week, I got my mom cooking, my grandma cooking, my cousins cooking. I had 2 cousins that are chefs. I've been in the food business almost my whole life, even though I'm a CPA. And I just was documenting it, and all of a sudden you start getting feedback from people. Wow, I love this, like I love what you're doing. It started out just friends that want to just come over for dinner, and then all of a sudden, like, you get people that you don't even know that are just contacting you saying, I love what you're doing. And I just started running with it. It came really organically. I never said I wanted to be a YouTube star or an Instagram star. It just grew, and it started just taping my life unscripted and not doing anything planned, just literally coming into walking downstairs and my mom's making fresh pasta, and now we're just rolling. We call them igazzaril or like cavatelli, but I call it igazzaril because they're hand rolled, right? So every bite's different.
Yeah.
And from there, I think the real big turning point came in October of 2017. I brought a videographer with me to Italy. I was going to make olive oil. My family produces olive oil in my hometown in Italy, and I brought a professional videographer with me to Italy for a tour that we were doing. My uncle does private label production for some pretty successful people, successful businesses. So we had one client that wanted to bring his employees. He has 2 hotels, a chain of Neapolitan pizzerias. He was actually a 2-time world championship boxer. Nice. So when he retired, he moved to Sweden, and the guy's like blowing it out of the water when it comes to just going on TV, and he's like on basically the Food Network of Sweden.
Nice.
And so he brought 17 of his employees to come and learn how to make olive oil.
Oh, wow.
So we went and Sydney came down, and my videographer, he comes from Baltimore.
I call him Mr. Baltimore, but okay.
Mr. Baltimore. So Mr. Baltimore comes to Italy with me, and it was the first time I went in front of a camera. And from there, I just loved it. It just came natural. It was something that we started going to other places with the camera, and between myself and Sydney, people just felt comfortable, and we started meeting all these unbelievable people doing unbelievable things, whether it was culinary or not, whether it was the grandma that lived in some home that just, you go in there and I remember this one specific occasion came. My cousin's boyfriend, my cousin Antonella, she runs a men's knitwear factory. She does private label like for Zara, for a lot of big Italian brands. And her boyfriend Maurizio, who speaks great English, by the way, he worked in Poland for a while. His grandmother comes from a town of 50 people.
Wow.
And the average age is about 84 years old. So we go there. His grandma was a survivor. It was pretty unbelievable of really like the Holocaust time, World War II. And that specific town had Nazis there. Wow. The Nazis came and they tortured the Italian people in that village. There's actually a statue of a soldier there because a lot of battles happened in that area. Correct. So when you think of Nazis and concentration camps, you think of Jewish culture. Yeah. You think of the Jews. Yeah. But this specific instance, it was Italians. Yeah. And even for me, as coming from Italy, like I never experienced that before. Yeah. And I got a whole video of me interviewing and him interviewing his grandmother, talking about stories how she fell in love with this American soldier and like went through all these like torture from these people, like bombs happening and war and firefights happening outside of her town, outside of her house. Yeah. And then one day, like the Italian soldier died, and she lost her love. She was planning on moving to America and like starting a whole new life for herself. And I felt like this moment, I was like, wow, like we have this on camera. This is amazing. Like I need to continue doing this. And that was just one situation. Like then we ended up going into Sorbillo. Sorbillo is like one of the best pizzerias in Naples. And they just opened up here in Manhattan recently. Right. We go there. There was a 2-hour wait on a Wednesday. We hop in there with a camera. Nice. And I didn't even know I was talking to Toto, the owner. Because Gino's like the big guy from Sorbillo. So you see him like as like the poster boy. But his brother Toto, I didn't know at the time. So like I go right up to him like, listen, I got this camera. Like I want to do something with these videos and everything. And he invites me to the back. I end up going like in the back of the pizzeria. I'm hanging out with all these like pizza makers, one of the best pizza places in the world. That's right. And I'm just like, wow, like this is powerful. Like we got something going on here. Like I have to continue this. So it grew from there. It really grew from there. When I came back home, I just started putting out like a lot of this content, and which was more not just from an iPhone but from a professional camera, and it just started growing. It really started growing organically.
Here's what I like about Lorenzo. So I'm in my 40s, and Lorenzo and I are having a little wine. We have cigars, aka Cigar Confessions, and it's got two Italian guys sitting around. And one of the things I really appreciate is I grew up kind of the Italian culture being kind of the norm, right? Grew up like in a town, a lot of Italian kids. Back in the day, there was a lot of Italian places. Bensonhurst was still Bensonhurst, so forth. But we get gentrified, which is a good thing. We get acclimated, which is a good thing. But I really think there's an appetite for people like myself who want to hold on to that, but also millennials that grow up with no, and they want to kind of continue that trend or continue the culture. So give us some of the feedback you've been getting. Because I know you get the occasional thirst, right? You get a little hate mail, which you finally started getting. But give us kind of the feedback that you've been getting, and give us kind of what message you want to get out there, and what do you want to really do with the platform that you're building.
I started this hashtag. Keep the tradition alive. Okay. And it's something that's it resonates with me internally because like as a first generation Italian, like I was blessed with this. Like this is something that people they don't get in their life. Like I'm super fortunate, I'm super thankful for it. Like I grew into this. Like I was born into a family that came from Italy and kept culture. And it was really the moment came when my grandfather passed away, where it was a man. So just to give you the dynamic here, I have my mom is one of three. So there's three sisters. Okay. So women in an Italian family, they're the heart. Yeah. They're the heart. They're the kitchen. But men have a different approach, especially the old school Italian guys. Like my grandfather worked. Like he came with nothing. Yeah. Started a landscaping business. Yep. so I grew up like I would go fishing with my grandpa. We'd come back, he'd have a clam, 4 o'clock in the morning, he goes and gets clams, comes back, and we're making linguine clam sauce. So like he's doing a grill on the barbecue, or he just makes something out of nothing. And it was just, I lost that at 14 years old. My other grandfather was in Italy, who I was named after, Lorenzo. So while I was close with him, he was in another country. I couldn't go down the street and see him. And when he passed away, it was a big blow to the family, because you still had that women who had the heart, who cooked all the time and brought everyone together, but that male figure who was like that mentor, that father, like, it was missing. And my father grew up as a professional. He worked in hospitals. He actually had like, he couldn't get rid of the old school Italian. I mean, he had to get real estate and rent it out and all that. But I resonated with it, and I need to keep it alive, and I felt like it was my duty to keep it alive. Because if I have kids, who's going to do it? Like, I want to at least give my kids the opportunity, because the world is crazy now. Who knows if my kids want to be Italian or love it and resonate with it, but at least have them have that opportunity like I had. And I'm responsible to keep it alive. Who's going to do it if I don't do it?
But we were talking earlier, and at the Cigar Confessions, this is our number 2. This is where kind of the cigars and the wine kicks in. Being an Italian American, it's not easy in the sense where, your parents want you to have your path. And myself, I got my undergraduate, I got my MBA, and kind of did what I thought was the right thing to do, and I hopefully will continue to do so in my career. But for you, your day job is a CPA, right? But you're kind of going all over the world with a camera. Like, how do you balance, your passion with, your mother, throwing the Sunday pasta, you're saying, what are you doing with your life? So walk us through, how do you reconcile that? How do you pivot that? What part of Lorenzo the entrepreneur to say, shit, I want to do this? And what part of Lorenzo the good Italian kid who wants to build the CPA practice up? How do you reconcile that, and what are you doing with it?
It's so funny. And honestly, I'm sure a lot of other Italians out there, just young Italians who come from a similar background than me, can resonate with this really, really strongly, because
Just really quick. I got to throw this in. So I've been very fortunate. I have a small UPS store. It's one store, and I think it was like 2005, 2006. And my sister runs it, so it was a family business, And I remember sitting at the table, and I had to tell my mother that I was going to open up a business. Now, you know this. I think Italians, and respectfully, fall into 2 categories. Like, you go to school, or you start your own business. And I went to school, but I didn't have my own business. And I remember wanting to tell my mom, hey, I'm going to open up this franchise. I'm going to do this and do it with my sister Antoinette. I was nervous as fuck. Like, to the point, like, I went 6 different times to go tell her at dinner, and I didn't tell her till like the 7th. So I was scared, right? I was about your age, about 28 or so. So with that being, actually 26, but similar age. So with that being said, when did you first sit down with your parents and say, hey, listen, you know what? I want to be the next Anthony Bourdain. So walk us through how that that conversation went. And you can say the expletives, because it's because it's a podcast. So it's okay.
Well, man, I think honestly, it even happened before then.
Okay.
I remember, so I graduated my master's program in accounting.
Beautiful.
And I passed my CPA back to back to back. It was 4 tests, right? So I did the
all first shot?
All first shot.
Which is extremely hard.
But I locked myself in the basement. It was a summer. I remember I was working in the restaurant. I was working at a amazing restaurant in Long Island, a great group, Besito, which is it's Mexican, authentic Mexican, but super, super busy, like more of a higher end place. And I was working there, going to my master's degree and studying for my CPA.
Oh, wow.
I just was running and gunning, and I put it off because I said, I'm going to pass all 4 parts. I'm going to give myself time. I had a job at KPMG, which is one of the big 4 accounting firms.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's big 4. I remember it was a big 6. I'm getting old.
Yeah, it was more. Listen, there's older ones than you. There was 8 at some point. But I remember I was starting it in mid-September.
No, real quick, it's important. Okay, so want to follow the progression. Now, first of all, just to give a little background for those people who don't know. At least in New Jersey, they let you take 2 at a time because nobody ever passes 2, let alone 4. So God bless there. So you were supposed to go there. You were supposed to work as an associate. You were supposed to become a manager. You were supposed to then either start your own firm or become a partner. So I want to hear this progression because I love it.
So, well, the way it works is in the past you could take 2 tests at a time.
Yes.
Now you can take 1 at a time.
Yes.
And I took 1 at a time, about a month at each piece. Just studying, working in the restaurant, making a little bit of money.
So you weren't getting laid at the time, basically.
Nothing. I was getting nothing. I wasn't seeing my friends. Thank God my mother was cooking for me. I locked, and I changed the location. Every month, every test, I used to stay in the basement. I went to a Starbucks. I kind of kept it fresh a little bit. Ended up passing all 4, and I ended up with 2 months before I started KPMG. So 2 months, I had free. So I said, screw it, I'm going to Italy. Went there for 2 months.
God bless.
I ended up going to like Barcelona with my cousin and 14 other guys. It was 14 of us. We rented 2 houses on Lloret de Mar, right off about an hour outside Barcelona.
Nice.
I traveled all throughout Italy. Stayed in my hometown for a little bit. I went up to Torino to see my cousins. One of my uncles up north is a scout for Juventus. So I was going around
Nice.
Yeah, he was really. I had a friend who I graduated my master's degree with. She ended up coming, and it was her first time really in Italy. So I was like a little tour guide.
Nice.
We went to a few places to see food production. I was in Barolo.
Wow.
I have a good friend that has
went to Piemonte.
Well, my Piemonte, Torino's in Piemonte,
Nice.
so I made friendly with
Now you're talking dirty.
Marchesi di Barolo, which is a great winery out in Barolo. So
I don't know if you know, they're actually an Italian American family. I don't know if you knew that.
Marchesi di Barolo.
Yeah. Little known fact: they came over to the U.S., they went back, and they emigrated here. They went back over there, and it's their premier Barolo. And they're actually an Italian American family. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna shout this out, Valentina, the daughter, absolutely gorgeous. That's a catch right there.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
But she liked my cousin when I went with my cousin on a later date. So we'll leave it for Michael.
Well, hold on. Now that you're on the New Theory podcast, Valentina might hit you up. You never know.
Valentina, I'm here whenever you want. Yeah, we see each other every once in a while. But
I love it. Okay, so you get the bug, you try. I get it. Like you had 2 months, you fucked around, you had some fun, and you got the bug. You went to KPMG. What happened after that?
So KPMG came around. I thought I had the dream job, right?
Yeah, naturally.
You go there, you're working for one of the biggest accounting firms in the world. My parents are super proud, right? They're telling everyone in the freaking Paisans that Lorenzo's working at KPMG. And the funny part is I actually started...
No, KPMG.
Yeah. Listen, shout out to KPMG. You guys are great people. Tony D'Alessio, the managing partner, is an Italian guy. Very, very amazing man.
Nice.
Till to this day, keep in touch with him.
Nice.
There's great people. Like, I can't say enough for what they did for me.
Yeah.
Like, it was just unbelievable people. So there's nothing bad to say about them in the sense, like... but it's funny, I started out with my cousin, who we were born on the same day, same year.
Oh, shit.
So him and I, Mario Basilico, we went to opposing high schools. We went to Hills East and Hills West.
Okay.
But he's my brother. He's my
Yeah.
brother. You know, we literally were born down the hall from each other in the same hospital. But it's funny and it's ironic that I went and I started working in a company with my cousin, doing the same exact thing, because it wasn't for me. Like, that life wasn't for me. I knew from within the first week of me, actually not that much, but in the first month of me working there, I was like, I don't think I'm built for this. I don't think this is where it's for me. Because the first month was fun. Yeah. And actually, that's when Hurricane Sandy happened.
Okay.
And
2012.
I go and I went to the managing partner, Tony D'Alessio, and I said, listen, we got to do something about this. The first time I met him. He goes, run with it, go. So I got in touch with the people there, and I organized 4 of the offices: Connecticut, New Jersey, Manhattan, Long Island. And we went to Long Beach, which is an area in southern of Long Island that got destroyed. And we gutted out the basement of 2 homes of a single-family mother and an elderly couple. So I had about 70 people. I got food donated from all over the Long Island.
Nice.
Clothes, food, everywhere from the other offices. And basically it was like I headed that.
Yeah.
As a first-year associate. I was there for 2 weeks.
No.
And so I put like a good name for myself, and people liked me, but it was weird because the work didn't resonate with me.
Yeah.
I stayed there for about a year and a half. I gave it a shot, and at the time I was like, you know what? I need to do something for myself. Like, I need to do something on my own. I started doing taxes.
Okay.
I left. I started working with a guy in New Jersey, Brian Sherman, working remotely. We started doing, he had like the knowledge because I was younger.
Yeah.
And I started just getting clients.
No.
I remember doing about almost 100 tax returns my first year, which is like, listen, it's a lot, but it's not a lot.
It's a good amount.
It's a good amount for my first year, you know.
Yeah. Now, did you acquire the 100 accounts? Were they the old like Paisan, that had the building and he went around to community, or did you go to more younger folks? Because we're very entrepreneurial on the podcast. How did you get those 100 accounts?
I made it a point not to go to Paisans.
Okay.
Someone actually gave me advice: don't go to Paisans.
Well, they're cheap, but
Like that, like it is like they. Especially in when you come from a small town, everyone knows everyone's business.
yeah, that's true.
So I just tried to separate that.
Yeah.
And I had a thing with the restaurant. So what I did was I actually went to restaurants and
Smart.
I went to and I got a bunch of waiters.
Yeah.
That was like my thing. That was like my niche. But the restaurant business was always my niche.
Yeah.
And that's how I started it. So I did that for a few years, and it got to the point where after tax season, I was busy. Tax season ended,
And then
and I was dead.
Yeah.
So I went and I picked up a job at another accounting firm.
Okay.
But just again, like time comes, and my uncle opened up a restaurant, and I love my uncle. I want the best for him. I've worked in the restaurant my whole life.
Yeah.
I go and I help him out. With that, I got sucked back in. But it got to a point where he knew I was entrepreneurial. He said, Lorenzo, you love this. You want to do this. You can see this in your future. Put up some money and become part of the business.
Okay.
So I became a partner in my uncle's and another Jimmy, who was the chef, in a restaurant, an Italian restaurant. We had a pizzeria. It was a pizzeria restaurant. Not what I love as like authentic Italian, but it worked.
Served the area. Yeah, served the area.
And it was a start. So that was, I think, my first real taste of business, like real taste of like seeing money, learning about like my uncle and Jimmy were they didn't go to college, so they were more like the street guys, which I grew up in Dix Hills, so like I was in a bubble.
Yeah.
This was like I started learning like the way
things were the world.
Yeah. I did that for 3 years.
All right, so let's go through this. Follow partner track. You decided, hey, year and a half I'm out. Entrepreneurial, invest in a business, doing all that kind of stuff. Bring us to the modern day Italian. So listen, I'm going to call it right now. You will be the next Anthony Bourdain. So walk us through your appetite. Why did you want to do it? How are you doing it? Where are you at in the process?
So I'm almost done now. I got my videographer sitting next to me right now.
Mr. Baltimore.
Mr. Baltimore. we got version 1.0 and 2.0 done.
Okay.
And I just got like a few little scenes that I got to clip up to just for the pilot.
Okay.
And, I did the whole Instagram thing. Like everyone nowadays, they want you to go to YouTube and just put out content on YouTube. And we spoke about this before. You're like, yo, why don't you just put it on YouTube? Like, why don't you just go and do this? But honestly, anything I do, I put my heart into it. My uncle always said this like in the restaurant. He goes, when you do something, put your heart into it. When you're cleaning tables or setting a table,
Correct.
I put my heart into what I do.
That's what my mother always said. If you're going to clean floors, make sure they're the cleanest.
That's it.
Yeah. Even though she's doing for me, but yeah.
Yeah, and like I'm doing this, and the work that, not just me, because I'm just a character in this all.
Yeah.
You got Mr. Baltimore next to me. Yeah. You got my editor, he's actually from Italy. He's been here for 3 months. He's living in Astoria now, Luca, and Luca has worked on movies in Italy he's 36 years old. He's not a young kid, but he's worked on movies, and he's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
He's working for free.
Oh, wow.
So I got people working for me for nothing. And like, I owe it to them to putting in all these hours and this hard work to getting a 22-minute video. Because people don't realize, putting a minute video on Instagram is a whole different ballgame than doing a 22-minute episode.
Edited, cut the whole bit. Correct.
Like, and I'm on third version, and I'm probably still like isn't perfect for me. But you got to be able to that point. And the jewelry too. Yeah. There's a point where you're like, you just got to be happy with what you got.
We're gonna get to the jewelry in a second. And here's what's interesting. You know what? I'm gonna give you, if you guess this right, the next cigar is on me. Why is it 22 minutes? If you guess this right, the next cigar is on me. Do you know why?
Because it's supposed to be 30 minutes, and you got to make money. And where's the episode? Where
8 minutes of commercials, which is traditional television. Next cigar is on me. I'm very impressed by that. All right, so now you kind of run into, and this set up, traditional media, right? The 22 minutes, 8 minutes commercial, let's get picked up, versus the new media. So let's say Mr. Baltimore, and you sit down, you put in the can, you're ready to go. You get Luca, you get it up, you're ready to go. What's your next step to get the message out as the modern day Italian?
Pitch time, baby. Pitch time. We got to go start talking to people who are in the business, who I'm part of what's called the Elite Mentorship Program over at Founders. So Founders, if you don't know, it started by a man named Gerard Adams back in the day of Elite Daily. I don't know if you've heard of it. His story is impressive. I mean, he started out as like in the stockbroker game when he was younger. He kind of hit that. He was in that time. That was the time. That was the time to be a stockbroker. I think he was worth like $20-something million by the time he was 24 years old.
I sat there was a speech where he was worth $25 million at one point and lost it almost overnight. And we've actually featured Gerard in multiple articles on New Theory, and he's a hustler, and we respected Gerard. So so now you want to pitch it, you want to get it out there. Ideally, perfect world, magic wand. Where do you want to end up?
Netflix. I think it's the perfect balance between new age and traditional. So like my mom and my dad are watching Netflix. They're watching Gamora. They're watching all these like they you know what? This is actually where I wanted to do where Netflix really came into play. Yeah. I own a house and my tenants got a new TV. So I go over there, I stop in, and the TV remote had Netflix on it. And if that doesn't say something, then I don't know what does. Like for me, that's the perfect. Because TV's they still say my sister's in marketing and she does like traditional marketing. And she goes, TV's king, Lorenzo. TV's king. But if TV's king, Netflix is on it, and that's the perfect bridge between it. And I know Netflix right now has original series. They have Phil Eats. They got Anthony Bourdain on there. But I'm just different. And I'm going to take this just different from my boy Carlo at Casa della Mozzarella. I did my first pilot in Arthur Avenue.
Right. You did so many shout-outs. You're going to be charged $5 for every shout-out initially.
Carlo, I want free mozzarella and $5, all right? But it's younger. Yeah. It's faster. The music is like incredible. Like I think music is so underrated in shows. Like it just the attention span of everyone is just like nothing at this point. So I keep it really fast. Yes. Really, really, really fast. And I don't want people to have that feeling like, oh, this is boring, I'm going to change the channel. Yeah. That's the last thing I want. So whenever I feel that while I'm watching it, I go, I need to change this. Like I need to cut this shorter. I need to change what I'm doing because that's the feeling, the exact feeling I don't want in a viewer. It's entertainment. At the end of the day, it's entertainment. I'm not a chef. I'm not trying to teach you how to make mozzarella. I want to show you places that you can visit yourself. Like, I don't need to. I'm showing people. Like, people don't know about Arthur Avenue. Yeah. When they think the Bronx, I remember I mentioned it to an Instagram follower. We started talking, and the woman was like, "The Bronx." She was from Boston. Yeah. The Bronx, and she's like, There's Italian places in the Bronx. People don't know, like, Arthur Avenue is probably the most Italian block in New York. You know, way more than Little Italy or anything. Like, not the Little Italy, like, just shame on Little Italy, because I had a thing I did an interview with Lou DiPaolo, and that man is amazing. Like, I don't think I've ever met a man in the United States that knows so much about Italian food. He's literally unbelievable. I seeked him out to do an interview with him, and he spent 4 hours with me to give me Little Italy through his eyes. But I want to do a video on Little Italy because I want it to be what it should be. You know, that's sacred ground for Manhattan. That's like, you know, the city should even be doing incentives to keep it what it needs to be. Like it's being surrounded by Chinatown. Yeah. Like that block should never go away. Yeah. And I actually one of my plan for the Little Italy episode is to go and literally get Cuomo and all these people in government to say, yo, you need to do something about this, because this is tourism. This is authenticity to New York and history. Yeah. So here's the thing. So I'm actually agreeing with you on all this, but why should you be the guy to carry that lantern? I am the modern day Italian. That's why I posted that way. When the Brooklyn Italians made such an impact on the world, like, you got to respect what they've done. Like, you look at all these movies and obviously like that whole mobster thing, that's what really propelled it, because it's cool, right? It's cool. People like that stuff. It's sexy. But nowadays, the Jersey Shore Goomba kind of things, I feel like isn't as cool as what it used to be. Yes. You know, especially what's going on with men these days. Like, everything on the news is about sexual harassment and all this stuff. Like, it's about being a gentleman these days. I think character and being a gentleman is sexy. It's changing. Yep. And I'm that new wave of Italian where my parents came from. Really, like, you want to just, it's exactly what it was back in the 30s when people came to Ellis Island, but I'm getting it now. Yeah. and I'm the offspring of that. I'm this new wave of Italians where even though I'm young,
Yeah.
these are the people, like young people who are changing things and moving things today. And they're setting the trends for things. And I have to keep this tradition alive because tradition's being lost day in and day out. Every day, people are losing tradition. And I think that, especially in the culinary world, it's gotten so crazy in terms of just like using flavors and getting really like the aesthetic of things that I think that soon it's going to start to pull back.
Correct.
People are going to respect, wow, this is something people have been doing for 150 years, like for 200 years. Like this is something like authentic. There's history behind this. There's a story behind it. Because everyone's got to be a storyteller. And when there's a story behind a dish, it takes things from the level. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
I was with Sur La Table yesterday. Okay. So if you're not familiar, Sur La Table with every summer Williams Sonoma, they do cooking classes. They're usually in malls. They have locations all over the world. And I did a demo for them because I'm trying to get them to be part of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I had 20 minutes to make a dish.
Yeah.
So I had to figure something. I couldn't prep before. Like I couldn't make pasta at my house or do something beforehand. I'd do everything there.
Yeah.
So what did I do? I did a very traditional dish, cacio e pepe.
Yeah.
Simple, it's 3 ingredients. Technique is everything. But what I did with it is I gave a story.
Yeah.
I got that recipe from a gentleman, Saverio, from La Terrazza. La Terrazza was a restaurant that's been around for years. Bill Clinton's been there, Madonna. It's a spot that has history. It overlooks Rome. And I got his recipe. I told the whole story behind it. But that's like anyone can make cacio e pepe. It's 3 ingredients.
Yeah.
But I did it with a story. Yeah. I did it. There's history behind it.
There was a narrative.
There's a narrative, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's a direction, because the culinary world can go in so many directions these days. That's one direction I think is going to grow. Yeah. And that's what the angle I'm taking.
Okay, so what scares you the most? Because there is some opportunity costs, You're betting big. You're going to say, hey, I'm going to go with Mr. Baltimore, and we're going to pitch this. We're going to do a whole bunch of stuff, and it can take 3 months, 6 months, a year. It can take 2 years. And you're going to always do well as a CPA, but you could also be at 28 nailing down your career, which brings you money. So how do you balance, like, hey, here's my passion, here's what I want to do, with the opportunity cost of, like, not giving up too much to do it?
Honestly, I love that question. I love that question because you hear, and especially being part of the Founders Program, they talk about being, living that dream, like doing your passion, and they make it seem so glorified. But let me tell you something, it's not easy. It's a grind. You know the sacrifice that I'm so thankful that I worked my butt off in that restaurant. When I say I didn't do nothing for 3 years, a Saturday, Sunday, I wasn't out. Yeah. I was working. Yeah. And I don't care. I'm very open. I talk about numbers and stuff. I put about, in those 3 years, I put about $120,000 in my pocket, just from the restaurant. Yeah. That money is what allowed me to do what I'm doing. Yeah. If I didn't bust my butt for 3 years, I wouldn't be able to do what I did.
You punted 3 years for a bigger purpose. But what? This ain't a layup, though. What scares you the most? What are you fearful, whether openly or Cigar Confessions, right? What scares you the most about this journey?
It's the future, right? So you go and I'm putting together a show, and who knows where it's going to go, how many seasons I'll do. I might do 2 episodes. I might do 8 seasons. Anthony Bourdain's on 12 seasons now. Yeah. So now you go and you think for the future. I want to have kids. I'm an Italian guy. Like, I love family. I love all the, and it's the future. Like, where does it go? Like, do I take this to a product? I have so many products that I can incorporate into what I'm doing, between my family's olive oil, between the bracelets. Yeah. Like, we haven't even spoken about the jewelry yet.
That's what I wanted to talk about. So you also came out with a jewelry line. Like, I'm with you. Like, I'm on board. That's why I can reach out to you. I get it. Your narrative is, hey, I'm a 28-year-old guy, satisfying guys like me who want to keep the Italian culture alive. Younger generation seeing, hey, keeping the culture alive. You're carrying the torch. I'm with you on that. Where did the jewelry line come in?
It didn't even start. Well, first and foremost, as an Italian, you have family everywhere, right? Family does this, family does that. I have family that is in the jewelry business. They actually have been manufacturing jewelry for over 35 years in Manhattan.
Yeah.
They were the first people ever to produce.
Wait, so they bend your forks? Walk us through that.
Yeah. so the first fork, it came. I was in Bologna.
Yeah.
My cousin Michael.
I have cousins in Bologna, by the way.
Beautiful area.
Yeah.
Honestly, arguably probably the best food in Italy.
The first medical school ever in the world, but that's another story. By Italians.
And not only that, you got that houses.
Yep.
They call it the food triangle of Italy. You see prosciutto, parmigiano, like that is the food production of Italy. So my cousin Michael, who's a chef, unbelievable chef, we'll plug him to City Cellar in Garden City in Long Island.
Another $5 we'll hit him up for.
Yeah, $5. I'm racking it up right now.
That's it.
Save it.
He started off with the 120. He's been down to about $10.
Yeah. So we organized our own culinary tour with our food purveyors from the restaurants, and we did prosciutto tour, parmigiano. We went to wineries, balsamic vinegar.
You went to Modena, right? For the vinegar.
Yeah. So we're in Bologna. We're at going truffle hunting.
Yeah.
And in this Apennino truffles. So you go to this place, a little town called Savigno. Savigno, you walk in, there's a sign, a big billboard says Città del Tartufi. So the city of truffles.
Yep.
And
More expensive than gold.
It's got a 1 Michelin star restaurant in there. Chef Michael White was working there for a little bit. Amerigo, it's called unbelievable place. So we go there and we go take a tour of this truffle factory, state of the art. It's unbelievable. And this guy comes who's going to host us to truffle hunt, and within 5 minutes, we loved each other. This guy Alessandro he's an animal. To this day, we're still buddies. He has a tourism company in Italy, Italian Days Food Tours.
Another plug, another
$5. Rack it up. I'm making money, baby. So we're going truffle hunting, and he bends down, and out comes a fork on his necklace. I'm like, yo, what is that? My cousin Michael actually is the one who noticed it. And he goes, I want one. So we go, and he brings us to the local fork dealer, right? and he shows us all these different forks, and we choose a fork. It's so gorgeous. It has it's from 1870, and on the handle of the fork is like this beautiful emblem with engraved MR for Monsignor Roberto. It's an Italian priest who was a chef.
Oh, wow.
And that was the story behind it. So then we go and we take the fork. The next day, they actually have a festival in town. It was Oktoberfest because it was October. Yeah. And we go to the local jeweler. He bends the fork for us, and we have our fork bracelets.
Nice.
So later, I get home and I'm at the restaurant. Not a day went by where someone didn't notice the fork and say like, "Damn, is that a fork bracelet?" And I tell them the story, and it's just like all of a sudden that people start saying, "I want one."
Yeah.
So me, I'm like, my mind goes in a million directions. Like my family's in the jewelry business. I've already been producing jewelry myself as a designer, because my grandfather, when he passed, gave me a bunch of jewelry.
Is that bracelet yours?
This one's mine, yeah.
Nice.
So this is actually the same fork I told you.
Oh, wow.
So these are the MRs for Monsignor Roberto.
Oh, wow.
So I've been producing jewelry, and I used the design from my grandfather to make pieces. And so then I was like, you know what? I got to make a fork. It took me about 5 times, 5 different metals, and about $2,500 of really just trying to get a product that actually worked.
My man, I gotta find a guy in Brooklyn with like $15 to bend forks for you, but I get it.
Well, when you want to go, I wanted to go high end. Let me tell you something. A fork, right? A cost of a fork of all silver, it's heavy. Costs a lot of money.
How do you bend the silver though?
So what I do is I get an original fork, I bend it, and then I mold it.
Oh.
So I've been getting forks with stories from all over the place. I actually one of my buddies was just at the Versace mansion in Miami and took a fork from the Versace mansion. So now I'm about to get into like the blending fashion industry and culinary industry. So any of you guys that love, that want to be bougie as fuck and just want to get in something, want a Versace fork, I got you. You can check the website. We're at jewelrybylorenzo.com. I'm actually going to be rebranding it. This is so crazy. After 28 years of being named Lorenzo, being in the food business my whole life, one of my Instagram followers actually told this to me. Saint Lorenzo, so Saint Lorenzo is the patron saint of cooking.
Oh shit! I didn't know that.
So now there's a prayer for it. there's like it's unreal. Like for me, like it's like a sign, to be honest. Like so. We might be. I got to play off of it, so we're thinking about doing something with that as like a rebranding for the forks. Because if you're I'm blessing kitchens all over the world.
So wait. So are you more of a unique fork, and I pay like $80 for a bent fork, but that fork's unique, or are you doing more production of a fork's $20? Give us the model.
I have two different kinds. I have a stainless steel silver blend fork, which is going to be my production. That's at $40. It's very approachable, very, very approachable. I have a bead, like the bead bracelets with a little charm of the fork. It comes from my hometown in Italy, from the castle where in my town, where they make bread and cheese. So it's a cocktail fork. I chopped the top off. I made it into a charm. It's made with Tiffany silver.
Nice.
That's at $55.
Sweet. Okay.
Very approachable. Okay. And then from there, I start having some necklaces. Like this one I have right now is a meat cleaver. It's a butcher's knife.
Oh shit!
I actually just did a custom piece which I'm putting into production. It's a pizza slicer. It's functional. It's from my buddies. Another plug. Here we go. $5. King Umberto's. My buddy John Cesare. So Ches. He's a King Umberto's. The third generation pizzeria in Elmont. They do an unbelievable job. We were actually there dough testing with my cousin Michael, and he's just upping the ante. He's on the quest to make the perfect regular slice.
But here's what's critical here, though. After the 1,300 shout-outs, so there's a theme here. You want to be the aggregator of the Italian culture for like 35 and below. That's what I'm getting?
No, but honestly, let's go above. Like, come on, right? So in Tutopazzo in Huntington, Luigi's got to be like 60 plus. Yeah. Luigi, and I respect a man like Luigi because Luigi is older.
I love that.
Luigi, you want to talk about podcasts? That guy's a character. You can go and talk to him.
We'll have him on next.
But he's older, but he understands business, and you have to adapt.
Yeah.
The guy has been making the most unbelievable desserts that you can think of. He's upped his ante. He's a student of the trade. Yeah. He knows what the trends that's going on. He's making the fresh pastas, and he's doing beet pastas and turning his dough, and he was putting like spinach in his dough, and he actually just did he did one with cocoa. It's a chocolate based pasta. Like what older man in an old Italian restaurant is doing that?
Yeah.
So like it's not even about age. It's more about keeping the culture alive and keeping the tradition alive and doing it right, because Italian food is very simple. Yeah. The raw materials are what make it what it is.
Correct. And the story behind it.
And the story behind it. And these people that I'm highlighting are a testament to that. And as much as I'm working towards my own brands, I love to promote other brands because people are unbelievable these days. Like you used to, when you come across people that are doing these things, like they deserve that shout out. They deserve that $5 charge that I'm getting. Like they earned it. They earned it. Yeah. I'm not doing it for no one. I don't blow smoke up people up and say shout out these names because like I know them, but it's because they deserve it.
But you're also growing, and we're going to wrap it up soon, but before we go, I can't let you off the hook. You got your first haterade. and listen, we're here, we're having cigars, we're having some wine. Great guy, great kid. Just really doing the right thing. But you also get some, like, shit, like that's what happens. So give us your first big hater experience.
Yo, people are crazy. This world is out of control. Like, I couldn't believe this. And I made the worst mistake of deleting the comment. I will 100% screenshot this comment next time. He was like, "You're a disgrace to Italians." I'm like, whoa. Wait, the best part is he told me that I didn't know how to cook. Like, how do you know this? But it's funny. It really is. But honestly, I do these things. You can't be affected by this. Like, this is, if you're gonna put yourself out there like this is funny. It's funny. I can't wait for the next one.
All right, so we're gonna put links to your website. We can't put links to each person you plugged, otherwise our website will crash. But we'll put links to your website. We'll shout you out on IG. But for those people that do listen in, my man Jose in Florida and my friend Joel, I keep shouting them out because they keep listening. I have some good loyal followers, and we're honored to have that. But how can we find you?
You can check me out on Instagram or at Facebook at Modern Day Italian. And you can check the bracelets out at jewelrybylorenzo.com.
All right, so if some lady folks see this, are you single or what?
I'm single.
Or it depends who asks.
No. It's honestly like it is the time to just focus on what I'm doing now. I'm having a great time doing it, and it's when I need someone who's going to be complimentary to what I'm doing, and at that means just understanding. I want to, it's a self-starter. Like, for example, like I'm going to be running an event. Like, something that I would love is like running an event and not having to guide anyone. Just like, oh, we're doing this. Like, okay, I got the alcohol. Like, I'm going and getting it. Like, it's a complementary factor that's going to be necessary for me to have. Because honestly, there's nothing more that I want is to settle down. Correct. Like, at the end of the day, I'm from a traditional home, and I'm glad to say, like, I'm not a cheater. I've never been that way. I've never been that kind of a man. But I need to be the right person.
Make sure it's right, yeah.
And that's what I'm looking for, to be honest. That's honestly like in terms of a relationship.
So you're building your brand. You're building your career. What are some of your to leave with? What's one of your quotes or expressions? I don't like to do. Oh, what's going to be in a tombstone? Fuck that. But give us the bottom line. The bottom line. What's your mantra now and moving forward?
Unfortunately, because it's the podcast, you can't see the hand gesture with this, because obviously only the Italians we use our hands. But I do this thing where I kind of like do like a little swipe and a cross, and I say bellissimo, and which means beautiful in Italian or very beautiful in Italian. Because honestly, what I'm just trying to create is just very beautiful things. Whether it's with my hands, with these videos, it's just creating beautiful things for this world. Because we live in this crazy world now, where there's just so much negativity out there. And I've gotten this feedback from a few times where you're just doing positive things. Like, I'm just really making a positive impact on whether it's just the culture or just the world in general. Like, honestly, that's my MO. It's just doing beautiful things.
Well, Lorenzo, happy to have you on. We're actually doing it live from the Casa di Monte Cristo here, formerly known as the New York Cigar Inn. And this is the New Theory Podcast. Thank you for being on.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. This has been a blast. Let's make this happen, baby. We're going to get on Netflix.
That's it. Yep.